Have you ever found yourself in a tough spot, maybe a bit down on your luck, desperately wishing for some kind of miracle, something to just instantly whisk you away from the grim reality, something that feels almost, too good to be true?
Yeah, I think everyone's felt that at some point.
Because if you have, then you've felt the magnetic pull of what we're diving into today. Law 32. Play to people's fantasies from the 48 Laws of Power.
It's a powerful one.
Right. So our mission in this deep dive really is to sift through a fascinating stack of sources to understand why the unvarnished truth is often, well, not just unappealing, but actively avoided.
People often don't want the truth.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're going to explore how mastering this art of manufacturing romance or conjuring fantasy can quite literally make you an oasis in the desert, a figure people just flock to.
An oasis, yeah. A welcome escape.
We're extracting those crucial nuggets of insight about the immense, maybe sometimes unsettling power found in tapping into that collective human desire for the fantastical.
It's deep-seated.
And trust me, we're going to unpack some truly wild stories today. From, like, a cunning stag who spun a delightful lie to avoid certain death,
Classic fable.
to mysterious alchemists promising mountains of gold, and even, celebrity con artists who built empires on pure imagination.
They all tap into the same thing.
They really do. They demonstrate that understanding our deep-seated craving for fantasy is a master key to influence.
Absolutely.
So let's kick things off with that fundamental concept from our sources. The idea that truth, in its rawest form, is often avoided because it is ugly and unpleasant.
Right. Nobody really wants to deal with disenchantment when they're hurting, do they?
No, definitely not.
It's absolutely foundational to this law. And look, it's not a new phenomenon. Consider the lioness fable. You've got a king lion, inconsolable after losing his queen.
Okay.
Every courtier, thinking they're being loyal, just mimics his sorrow, roaring in grief. It's the expected thing, right? The performative response.
Right. They're reflecting his pain back at him.
Exactly. But then comes a stag who takes a radically different approach. A bit risky, you might think.
Oh, what does he do?
Instead of joining the chorus of sorrow, the stag boldly claims he saw the queen, not dead, but reposing on a bed of roses, having tasted 1,000 delights in the Elysian fields.
Wow, okay, so completely flipping the script.
Completely. He paints this picture of a blissful afterlife, totally devoid of death and despair. And what happens? The king, who was initially furious at this, perceived disrespect,
Yeah, I'd expect him to be angry.
doesn't punish him. Instead, he rewards the stag with a handsome gift.
No way. Just for telling a nice story.
Well, it wasn't just a nice story. This fable really encapsulates the core message. If you entertain a king with dreams, flatter him, and tell him a few pleasant, fantastic lies, then whatever his indignation against you may be, he will swallow the bait and make you his dearest friend. It's about offering an immediate, more palatable reality, an escape, really, rather than just echoing the painful truth.
That's a truly uncomfortable yet powerful dynamic. It's not about being right or truthful in the moment. It's about being comforting, or maybe even captivating.
Precisely. Providing what's needed emotionally, not factually.
So, okay, from fables and ancient kings, how did this principle play out on a grander scale? Let's turn our attention to that fascinating case study. The city-state of Venice.
Ah, Venice, yeah, a perfect example.
This was a republic that had known immense glory, right? They had a virtual monopoly on trade to the east, making it, for a long time, Europe's wealthiest city.
Absolutely dominant.
And its citizens felt like destiny was on their side, almost, chosen. But then came the decline.
Things started to slide.
Yeah, Venice started losing trade routes to the rising Dutch and English powers. Its empire dwindled. And then the final, devastating blow, losing Cyprus to the Turks in 1570.
A huge psychological blow as much as economic.
Totally. This sent the city into a deep gloom and depression. People who remembered or, had heard stories of its glittering past were utterly humiliated by the present.
A real crisis of confidence.
Our sources say they half believed that the goddess Fortune was only playing a joke on them and were just waiting for the good old days to return. But, what could they actually do to bring that back?
And into that environment, this mood of collective despair and yearning in 1589 steps a mysterious figure. Il Braccadino.
Okay, the timing sounds important.
Oh, incredibly important. Rumors had already been swirling about a master alchemist who could multiply gold through the use of a secret substance.
Convenient.
Very. And the timing was impeccable, especially because a few years earlier, a Venetian nobleman in Poland had apparently heard a prophecy that Venice's recovery hinged on finding just such an alchemist.
So Bragadino wasn't just some random rumor. He was like the answer to a prayer people were already whispering.
Exactly. He was the precise answer to a deep collective wish that was already simmering. It was perfect.
So what was his strategy? Did he start doing magic tricks right away?
No, and that's the genius of it. His initial strategy was pure theater, and it didn't even involve immediate public demonstrations of alchemy. His wealth spoke for itself.
Oh, so?
He lived in a sumptuous palace, wore opulent garments, and there was apparently the constant clink of gold in his hands. Our sources explain this provided a superior argument to anything rational.
So just looking rich was enough.
Pretty much. His obvious wealth confirmed his reputation before he even had to prove anything. And people, wanting desperately to believe, kept giving him more money, which in turn reinforced his image. It was this perfect self-reinforcing cycle of belief, fueled by, well, wishful thinking.
Wow. And the city leadership bought into this.
Oh, completely. The buzz around him was so immense that the Venetian Republic itself, desperate for a solution to its economic woes, invited him to Venice, funding his lavish lifestyle.
They paid for his palace and fancy clothes.
Yep, and a genuine alchemy fever swept through the city. People were apparently selling coal and distilling equipment on street corners. Everyone, it seemed, began to practice alchemy.
Trying to get rich quick themselves.
Exactly. Everyone except Bragadino himself. He was, too busy living the dream they were funding.
Unbelievable. So he's just living it up, not actually making gold.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Bragadino seemed in absolutely no hurry to produce actual gold, yet surprisingly, this only increased his popularity initially.
How does that work? Wouldn't people get suspicious?
You'd think so, but no. People flocked from all over Europe just to meet him, to be near the magic, I suppose. As months went by and gifts poured in, impatience did eventually start to grow. The Senate, feeling the pressure of their ballooning investment, demanded a return.
Okay, finally. Crunch time.
So Bragadino, with this typical sort of disdain for doubters, responded by claiming he had deposited a secret substance in the city's mint. If left alone for 7 years, sealed in a casket, this substance would multiply the existing gold 30 times over.
7 years. That's quite a delay tactic.
Ingenious, right. And most senators, still clinging to the fantasy, actually agreed to wait.
They agreed, wow. But not all of them, you said.
No, not all. Eventually, the demands for concrete proof, for gold now, became too insistent to ignore. And that was the turning point.
What happened? Did he finally try to make some gold?
Nope. Bragadino, with characteristic dramatic flair, declared that Venice, in its impatience, had betrayed him and therefore lost his services. He just left town.
He just walked away.
Yeah.
After all that.
Walked away. The genius of someone like Bragadino, or rather the real man behind the persona, Mamugna, was his profound understanding that, look, people rarely believe that their problems arise from their own misdeeds and stupidity.
Easier to blame outside forces.
Always. They desperately seek salvation from the outside. Imagine if someone had arrived in Venice back then, offering like a detailed economic analysis of their decline and suggesting hard-nosed steps, or the hard work their ancestors had used.
Yeah, they probably would have been laughed out of town.
Exactly. Scorned, maybe even ridiculed. Reality was just too ugly and the solution too painful. Bragadino offered a beautiful dream instead.
So what's the big takeaway for us from the Bragadino story? It's a bit, well, unsettling, but our sources make it pretty clear, don't they?
Yeah, the message is stark. Never promise a gradual improvement through hard work. Rather, promise the moon, the great and sudden transformation, the pot of gold.
Promise the moon. It implies that this radical, seemingly effortless transformation is just far more appealing than realistic, step-by-step progress.
That's it. It's about tapping into that universal desire for a miraculous shortcut.
And think about how this applies beyond, historical cons.
Oh, yeah, you see it everywhere. Modern marketing, political campaigns, even like personal branding online.
Absolutely. The aspirational promise, the fantasy, often trumps the realistic path.
That's a powerful and, frankly, a bit unsettling takeaway. But it points to a deeper truth, doesn't it? That fantasy needs the backdrop of the humdrum and the mundane to really take root.
Exactly. It thrives in contrast to everyday life.
So what are some of those universal oppressive realities that humanity seems to endlessly crave and escape from? Our sources must touch on these. Oh, they do. It's an excellent question because these realities are like the fertile ground where fantasies grow. First big one, the reality. Change is slow and gradual. It requires hard work, luck, self-sacrifice, immense
The
patience.
grind, basically.
The grind and the fantasy, of course, is a sudden, total transformation, bypassing all that effort.
The overnight success.
Precisely. This is the charlatan's classic move. Our sources bring up Leonhard Thumeister, the 16th century German quack. He became a court physician with basically zero medical study because instead of offering, amputations or foul-tasting purgatives, the standard unpleasant medicine of the time, he offered sweet-tasting elixirs and promised instant recovery.
The easy way out.
And get this, he included drinkable gold, which ironically cost a fortune. People wanted that quick fix, the magic cure, and he provided the fantasy of one.
Drinkable gold. It's wild to think people fell for that. But then again, like you said, if you're desperate enough, maybe it doesn't sound so crazy.
Desperation makes you grasp at straws, or gold in this case.
Right. What other realities do we instinctively try to escape?
Okay, then there's this one, the reality. The social realm has hard-set codes and boundaries. We kind of know our place, our circles, the unspoken rules. It can feel limiting.
Mm-hmm. Society's boxes.
Yeah. And the fantasy. We can enter a totally new world with different codes and the promise of adventure. Escape those boundaries.
Right. Go somewhere exotic, be someone different.
Exactly. Consider Georges Salmanazar, a Frenchman in the early 1700s. He convinced pretty much all of London he was from the fantastical land of Formosa, modern-day Taiwan.
He just made it up.
Completely. Invented an entire language, history, culture, even translated the Bible into his fake Formosan. Oxford University hired him, royalty dined with him. He played perfectly on the public's desire for the exotic, for a world where rules were different and adventure seemed possible.
That's incredible dedication to a fantasy.
Or think about Mata Hari, the dancer before World War I. Her power wasn't just, simple allure or sex appeal. She created this profound fantasy of being strange and exotic, unknowable and indecipherable.
So more mysterious than just attractive.
Exactly. Her appeal was in breaking social codes, embodying something beyond the conventional. And crucially, for power, the sources say fantasy must remain to some degree unrealized, literally unreal. Meaning, once it's fully understood or demystified, the magic just vanishes. The allure is in the unknown.
Okay, that makes sense. So it highlights how the desire for the forbidden or the truly unique can be an even more powerful draw than simple attraction. She wasn't just performing a fantasy, she embodied one that challenged the norms.
Well put.
What about societal structures, like how we connect with each other?
Oh, yes. That leads to the next one, the reality. Society is fragmented and full of conflict. We often feel isolated or divided.
Yeah, that feels pretty relevant today.
Doesn't it? And the fantasy. People can come together in a mystical union of souls, a sense of belonging, of shared purpose.
Like finding your tribe.
Exactly. The 1920s saw Oscar Hartzell's infamous Sir Francis Drake swindle. He promised a share of Drake's lost treasure to anyone actually named Drake, turning it into this crusade against the government supposedly withholding it.
A treasure hunt for Drakes.
Pretty much, it fostered this mystical union of the oppressed Drakes, complete with emotional rallies and a sense of shared destiny. While this offers immense power to the person conjuring the fantasy,
There's a downside.
oh yeah, our sources caution it's also a dangerous power that can easily turn against you. It's a fantasy for demagogues to play on. Creating that kind of passionate unity can backfire badly.
That's a fascinating and, chilling point, how a shared fantasy, even a totally fraudulent one, can create such intense community and how dangerous that can be. And finally, I guess the biggest reality of all.
Indeed. The one we all face, unavoidable. The reality, death. The dead cannot be brought back. The past cannot be changed. It's final.
Heavy stuff.
It is. And the fantasy, a sudden reversal of this intolerable fact, finding a way around it somehow.
How does that play out? Like bringing people back to life?
Not quite literally, usually, but think about Han van Meegeren, the Dutch art forger back in the 1930s. He created new Vermeer's paintings so convincing they were certified by the top experts.
Wow. He fooled the expert.
Completely. It was as if Vermeer, the long-dead master, had been miraculously brought back to life. The past changed. The paintings seemed real, the sources say, precisely because the public, and the experts as well, so desperately wanted to believe they were.
So the fantasy wasn't just the painting, it was the return of the master.
Exactly. That deep yearning for a lost genius to return, for the past to be undone, made the fantasy almost irresistible.
Okay, that really brings us to a crucial element in making any of these fantasies stick. The key to fantasy is distance. That seems kind of counterintuitive at first glance. How does being distant actually amplify the allure?
It's absolutely central, even if it sounds odd. The distant always has a lure. It means, practically speaking, withdrawing as the sucker approaches.
Pulling back.
Yeah. You never want to be too direct or too specific about the fantasy you're offering. You keep it vague.
Why vague?
Because the less concrete it is, the more room there is for the other person to project their own desires, their own dreams onto it. It's about keeping their imagination actively engaged, filling in the blanks themselves.
So you're not giving them the whole picture, you're letting them paint it.
Exactly. Our sources use the perfect analogy for this. The moon. Think about it. It's unattainable, always changing shape, disappearing and reappearing.
Right, you can see it but never quite grasp it.
And it provokes dreams. Never familiarity. You never get bored of the moon because it's always slightly out of reach, slightly mysterious. The advice is crystal clear. Promise the moon.
Promise the moon. It's alluring precisely because it's just out of reach, eternally beckoning.
That's the idea. Joseph Weil, a famous con artist known as the Yellow Kid, he understood this implicitly. He was quoted saying something like, "A lie is an allurement, a fabrication that can be embellished into a fantasy. It can be clothed in the raiments of a mystic conception. Truth is cold, sober fact, not so comfortable to absorb. A lie is more palatable." He explicitly said he found it far more interesting and profitable to romance than to tell the truth.
Wow. He wasn't shy about it.
Not at all. He knew the power of a good story, a good fantasy.
Okay, so we've explored the immense power in playing to fantasies, but there's a vital reversal to consider here, isn't there?
Always a reversal.
While there's undeniable power, there's also significant danger. The public apparently often half realizes it is being duped, but they kind of enjoy the entertainment and the temporary diversion from their daily lives.
Yeah, they're in on the joke to some extent. For a while.
But the moment the entertainment runs out, or maybe the fantasy demands too much reality, things can turn ugly, right?
This is precisely where Bragadino's story takes its dark turn. After leaving Venice, he moved on to Munich.
Okay. Trying the same trick again.
Pretty much. But the sources note the sober-minded Bavarians had far less faith in alchemy than the perhaps more desperate or romantic Venetians.
Uh-oh. Different audience.
Big time.
Yeah.
When he continued his familiar waiting game and, crucially, failed to deliver any gold, the public grew angry. Money was being spent, fortunes wagered, with absolutely no results, and patience just wore thin.
So the entertainment value wasn't enough anymore.
Not nearly enough. In 1592, the Bavarians demanded actual justice, not just their money back, and Bragadino ended up swinging from the gallows.
Whoa!
Yeah. He had completely misjudged the forbearance of his hosts, and his ultimate inability to fulfill their fantasy proved fatal. The entertainment value had officially run out, and the bill came due.
That's a really stark reminder of the inherent risks involved. You ain't just promise the moon forever. Eventually people want to see something.
Or they just get tired of the show.
But it's also worth noting, like the sources do, that fantasy isn't always some outlandish, impossible dream. Sometimes reality itself is sometimes so theatrical and captivating that it becomes a kind of fantasy on its own.
Absolutely. That's a more subtle application of the law. Take Abraham Lincoln. He was known as the common man's president, right? Someone who seemed approachable, down to earth.
Yeah, the log cabin story and all that.
Exactly. But he very carefully cultivated that image while still maintaining a crucial distance. His common persona was, in itself, a kind of performance. It tapped into a fantasy that the average person could rise to greatness, that their values were reflected in the highest office.
So, relatable, but still presidential, still slightly removed.
That's the balance. Or consider P.T. Barnum's Tom Thumb, the famous dwarf performer. He lampooned famous leaders, Napoleon, people like that.
Right.
He delighted audiences by appealing to the fantasy that the common man knows best, by bringing the powerful down to size, making fun of them. It was cathartic.
Letting the little guy win, symbolically.
Yeah, exactly. But even when playing the commoner, our sources emphasize that one must carefully cultivate distance. Why? So the persona will not project as fantasy if it becomes too familiar.
So even the real persona needs some mystique.
Precisely. Once the illusion breaks, once that carefully constructed magic, even the magic of authenticity is gone because you're just too familiar, the power just evaporates entirely.
This deep dive has truly laid bare the, well, undeniable power in playing to people's deepest desires and unmet longings, especially when reality feels grim and unyielding.
Yeah, it really have.
It's about offering that escape, isn't it? That promise of a better, maybe more magical tomorrow, even if that tomorrow is, let's face it, entirely fabricated sometimes.
It's such a delicate balance to master, though. The allure of fantasy is immense. It's a powerful draw, no doubt. But the ground of expectation and eventual delivery is just treacherous.
Yeah, like Bragadino found out the hard way.
Exactly. The wisdom truly lies in understanding not just when to enchant, but also when to maybe pull back, when to retreat, and always remembering the crucial role of distance.
Offer the moon.
But never let them actually touch it. Keep the dream alive, just out of reach.
So, as you go about your day, maybe consider this. What banal truths or oppressive realities might you be overlooking in your own world, or maybe in those around you, that could be the fertile ground for new fantasies to take root?
For good or ill.
For good or ill, absolutely. And maybe ask yourself, how might you recognize when you are the one seeking that oasis in the desert? Something to think about.